I would very much like to acknowledge the SMC film production faculty team. Our production supervisor, Simone Bartesaghi. Our cinematography supervisor, Vishal Solanki. And our production coordinator, who has been here with me since day one, Drew Davis. Also, a very personal special thank you to SMC student Caro, Vilain, back there. Who helps us get these films to the finish line. She has become essential for our program. Thank you, Caro. The moderator of our Q&A is SMC alum Alci Rengifo, who is this year's recipient of the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Scholarship, sponsored by Rotten Tomatoes. A very special thing here in our program that some of you must have realized already is that the roles overlap quite a bit. So, in a way, they all participated in everyone else's films, so we'll get a little bit of that in the Q&A. But we have director Bobby Murphy and Rengifo is the producer. Oscar Hueso, the production designer of HINGE. I did get a text from Lisa Mayo earlier on that she wasn't feeling well. She got a migraine, so I guess she didn't come in the end. And then from Once Upon a Woman, director Wayne Hodges. And Damian Delgado, the actor. Alci, all yours.
Testing. Okay, so let's just jump right into the movies. They're all incredible pieces of work. And as Salvador pointed out at the beginning, they do flow in this interesting narrative of past, present, and future. And one thing I'll say as someone who works as a critic all week is that one way I know something is bad is if it's 30 minutes, but it feels like 5 hours. All these films, I think all of them run a little over 20 or so, counting the credits. But to me, they all feel like 10 minutes or 5 minutes because they're so good. So let's start with the genesis of the project. And if we could get started in order where the idea came from for each of your films.
Once Upon a Woman actually came from Japanese cinema. I'd seen a film called Kwai-Dan, which had been produced in the 60s. It was a series of short stories put together as a film. And I kind of loved the concept, and I kept thinking, why can't you do that same concept with a Western? And Once Upon a Woman, in the original draft, was kind of in that same Taylor mode of making the first of a number of shorts to be conglomerately produced as one.
And of course, full disclosure, I co-wrote the film with I did a bit of work on that, but and it's true. These were a lot of the films we discussed when we sat down to work on the script, and it was a lot of fun. But it's all about you guys. So we could then. Who's the other director with us here tonight? Bob, maybe you could share a little bit about Out of Touch and the origins.
Yes,
of that
Out of Touch is a sequel to Avatar. No, really the idea, or it was a visceral reaction from the election of 2016. That is part of it. The other part is I have 3 little sisters, so I've seen the mother-daughter relationship 3 times over. So I thought just kind of reflecting that in the modern Civil War, having the mother-daughter conflict was kind of the reflection of the bigger conflict happening. And also, I know it sounds silly, but YouTube videos, I've seen some, refugee YouTube videos, and I just thought that was really emotional when you see strangers handing off children. I mean, it's mostly YouTube videos. That's my answer.
That makes complete sense, I think, in the world of today. But no, yeah, I think it's when it comes to film, right, to cinema, to storytelling, one gains inspiration from so much of what we see around us, and these films are essentially visions of things we read about, things we absorb. It's almost that rule of writing 101. Right, write what you know. So if we could also get into your background, because what's amazing is these are quote unquote student films, but the look, the texture of it is wholly professional. So we could get into your backgrounds a little bit and how you ended up at the SMC film program.
No,
Yeah, we're sharing the mics.
I spent a lot of years in the Marine Corps and came to LA at the tail end of it all. Went to film schools, went to acting school at Lee Strasberg for quite some time, and ended up actually being a semi-member of staff there for quite a number of years. And eventually just came to SMC to get the real degree, and I remember just kind of looking at the film program, and when I kind of saw they knew what they were doing, I just kind of latched on.
Hi everybody. So I was a troubled kid in the inner cities of Los Angeles, and as you've seen in all the credits, Operation Street Kids found me and gave me another opportunity and brought me over to San Juan College, where I was on my first film set ever, and totally fell in love with filmmaking and the process of everything. And then I came over to SMC with the help of Operation Street Kids and Professor Carrasco, and jumpstarted my career, and was really where I learned everything and the starting core of, it's all history for my
I started, I've always been doing filmmaking of some way since I was a kid, but I decided to go to college. I'm from Kansas, so I did that, and my first film class was like, not right. Just dragging the mouse. I was like, let's move past that. So I came here. I was like, let's get out of here. And so I moved here, and around age 30, I had a midlife crisis. And was like, I need to go back to school. And I'm just so grateful and lucky that I found this incredible program tucked away in Santa Monica. I mean, the quality is unbelievable. The product they put out, and the teachers here are so incredible, so passionate. They work in the field, so you're getting that first-hand knowledge and connections. So that's kind of how I ended up here.
I too, at about 30, had a midlife crisis. I know you guys can't believe I'm over 30. Twins. And I too found myself in I was a struggling actor who was bartending and had an opportunity, or I had a situation where I couldn't work anymore, and I was like, oh, I'll go back to school and see what it's like. And then I took a film class, and the rest was history. I saw that they were doing these like kind of super dope movies, high quality, and I was super interested in the program. So I forged onward and then, produced. And if you don't know what that is, it's gigantic project management.
The films, I think it's kind of interesting how Wayne and Damian keep appearing in them. So you guys could almost follow your own box set.
It's a quantum leap situation.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I wanted to ask Damian specifically about his experience in these films, because you yourself are an actor with incredible experience. You worked on a lot of notable films. You were in Professor Carrasco's feature film, The Other Conquest. You worked with big directors like John Sayles. You were in actually my favorite John Sayles movie, Men with Guns. Excellent film. So if you could compare that experience with also the experience of making these films with these students and what that's been like for an actor of your caliber.
I would say it's an amazing experience for me. It's always refreshing to work with young people, new ideas, with a lot of passion. I mean, I'm really very grateful about it. Every time Salvador has a script that is interesting for me, he sends to me, and I would say yes, because, first of all, because he's one of my best friends, since we met years ago with The Other Conquest. But besides that, it's because this is an amazing program. I mean, every time I have worked with the Santa Monica College students, it's been a very, very amazing experience. As I said, very refreshing for me. And somehow I like to contribute somehow with their experience to get to become a filmmaker, you know. So it's very, very nice.
And what's something you would say that directors you work with, something they all have in common? What's one thing you would say they all have in common?
It's a very interesting question. I think one of the qualities I've seen in a good director is he or she always knows what she or he wants. And when I'm very sure he knows or she knows, I feel so confident. And it doesn't matter if it's a student, 20 years old student at Santa Monica College, or it's a big director. It doesn't make any difference to me to trust him or to trust her and go through the scene and create whatever he or she asks me to do. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just because he or she knows what they want.
Interesting. And actually, Oscar too is now working in the industry too, professionally. So you could share a little bit too, Oscar, how you would compare that with the work you've done here at SMC. And how you've taken that and applied it to where you're working now in production design.
Yeah.
He gets paid now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, again, working in a professional and comparing it to this is the preparation is the same. It's not like a student film where you just go and you make something, the preparation, the pre-pro, everything matches to it. But the professional world is we don't have the amount of time and stuff like that, just the budgets that are different, but everything is pretty much the same and to the T sometimes, you know. And being on set on the Santa Monica College film set, it's like being on set on a professional set. I mean, there's not a lot of differences or anything, you know. That's the big thing about our program. Again, down to the film crews and everything, just how everything is ran, I think the structure of the 3 classes really teaches that, you know, going from just the basics to making a full film with the whole crew. I think that's a very good way to incorporate with now going into the actual industry where everything moves fast.
Who have you worked with?
I've worked all around the industry. I currently just finished my NFL season over at Fox Studios.
There's a big NFL thing happening tomorrow.
We just finished So everyone tune in to Super Bowl pregame show. That's my expertise.
Well, I finally have a reason to tune in for the Super Bowl. So let's go back to the directors. And if you could talk a little bit about the experience of shaping a script, but then seeing it come to life on set and then in post, and what that experience was like in having to make compromises. You know, film is such a collective art form.
Alci and I would transfer back and forth the script. I'd do a rewrite, send it to him, and I'm not joking, we probably did 30 or 40 rewrites in a 2 or 3 month period.
But it was wonderful to see it shaped by the whole crew into something that wasn't what you completely imagined when you first were working on it with the director, and then when the director and the whole team put it together. Yeah, so Out of Touch. A little bit about that.
Are you drunk right now?
We're on a campus.
Yeah, me too. The question is, oh yeah, so I wrote Out of Touch, over the summer, and I wrote it pretty small, and then we got the email from a professor about the Hollywood Foreign Press Association donating money, and so I went back to the script and was like, I can write this bigger, because I know we got the support. And then I, writing the script, other than bouncing the ideas off of my husband, who was like, what are you talking about? That was the only process that you kind of do alone, and then you hand it to the class, and it just becomes this incredible collaborative effort. And then every time someone makes anything that I wrote, whether it's a symbol or a flag or something, it's just like hard not to get a little emotional to see your words become something physical that you see. You have amazing production designers. That is the most underrated job, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And then we made the movie, and then we edited it, and it was finished.
And then on to the next one, yeah.
Yeah, and then on to the next one.
So, a few more questions before we turn it over to the audience. If everybody here could also share a favorite memory from the making of these films. So many things happen when you're trying to make just one of these. So many interesting moments. I could share a few, but it's too many. So, if you guys could share just one favorite moment from the making of your movie.
We can start down here, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, Brittany.
Hi, Brittany. I produce Out of Touch.
She produced the hell out of it, too.
Actually, one of my favorite memories, and I don't know if you are all aware of this, but we actually get our sound recorded live. And besides the wonderful experience with all of my beautiful classmates, going to experience the live recording of our score was kind of incredible.
By the incredible Michael McLean, who is here.
It was spectacular. Spectacular. It was truly an experience that I don't think a lot of student filmmakers get to have, and to be in this beautiful space downtown with a live quartet, and it was just really spectacular. Yeah, that was really something special. So.
There's 100,000, but the best, it's I don't know. Our lead actress, Barbara Williams, who is also here. Her backyard was touching the California fires 2 years ago, and she packed up her car and as full of the photos and the valuables, and still came to set. And her dog. It was so cute. So there's just too many. Please ask me afterwards. I'll give you everybody a different one.
Hinge. Wow, there's a lot. But there's one in particular that has to do with production design. There was a shot we needed to grab, and we didn't have access to the front of the. We were shooting at a location. We didn't have access to the front of the house. In the script, they're together. Hinge. So me and Lisa, we had to come up with an idea very soon. We were running out of time, and we ended up pulling it off. It was the window scene when he's looking out into the house. That was, we have to actually build a set, and that was my first. Yeah, he was my right hand man actually, and it was just that was my first time feeling like an actual production designer, where I had to execute an idea and make it happen, and that's when just appreciation for the film overall, just the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it.
Were you sick too? You were like throwing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it wasn't while we were filming.
Yes, and then also during that period of time, I was going through some stuff, so that Hinge holds a very special place in my heart.
Well, I would say one of my favorite moments actually is a scene when I have the privilege to kill my own director. could say I really enjoyed that.
Was that, built up frustration with other filmmakers that you
I don't know what happened, but something.
Because that scene is so real. Yeah.
No, I think it's, as I said in the beginning, it's a great experience for me to see really young people working so hard, really in a very professional way. I feel so, every time I do it, I feel so comfortable, so happy to do it. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
I'm like Bobby, I have a lot of memories on that, from writing it to Michael. Michael did the music for the Western as well, to working with my best mate Mossy, who's up there, the blacksmith. But I think my favorite thing was realizing the people in my class, the people that I was probably counting on the least going in, at the end of the film it came through the most when we were actually on the set and the conditions. And I think just seeing the growing curve of the students of where they started to what they were at the end of the shoot, and I just remember just kind of shaking my head in disbelief, going, that person really came through. And it was just wonderful to see those growing curves. Even Oscar was on the set of the Western. The first time he ever did production design.
His movie was the first, I was thrown into production design, and I fell in love with production design. Everything after that has always been production design since that Western movie, so.
But just to see people shine, it's and not necessarily all the people you expected to. That's the best part.
Yeah, it's the journey of making something with a group of people that you get to know, and then the little discoveries you make and the big discoveries you make. That's why I think I'll always consider filmmaking the greatest and just most rewarding and magical job in the world. And I have a question for the producer that's here with the group, which is if you could share a little bit about the experience of producing, because we talked about acting, we talked about production design, we talked about directing and writing, but a constant question I get from people that don't know much about movies is, well, what is the producer? What exactly does the producer even do?
Well, it wasn't just me. I had a killer production team. My sweet Shirley, my guy Blake, my boy Reed, my girl Lindsay, Edna. All the behind the scenes was spectacular. It was a lot of, it's just like a gigantic project management situation, because we have to get permits, we have to do budget, because it's not just me by any means. That would be impossible. So there's a ton of people, and basically, classes being held and they're doing drills, and if you don't know what drills are, it's like they mock up the scenes and they shoot them and all that. But not in class, there's the production team, and we're trying to find locations, and because there's so many behind the scenes people that it isn't just production, but basically it's the actual physical production, and then there's all the paperwork and finding locations and making sure there's food, and making sure you can find actors who are going to show up, and that's a thing too. Everything. Basically, if there's a problem, you have to fix it, and you have to fix it as quick as possible, especially when we're actually shooting. Like I said, there was fires, and actually everything shut down, and there was a big meeting about that. Were we going to lose a shooting day because we were supposed to be shooting in Northridge? And it was just kind of a wild day. And the whole scene was wild, but it's just huge project management, problem solving, making sure everyone's hydrated, making sure they're warm.
But one more before going to the audience. What do you all have coming up next after these films?
I'm currently working on a music video by the Los Angeles star Bobby, not this one, Bobby Moynihan, Ballerina Black. Check it out on YouTube. I've done 2 of his videos, editing. Thanks to Walt Louie, if he's still here, shout out. I learned to edit from that guy. He's amazing. There he is. Walt Louie.
I'm going into finance after that. No, I directed a film in Italy, so we're in post-production on that, writing more stories. I'll be working with Sovo Magazine and their upcoming projects. And that is it. Nothing.
Furthering my career as a production designer, I'm production designing my first big feature film this year. So that's what I have. I'm preparing for that. That shoot at the end of the year. So we grow very, very soon.
I just worked with Marta like a month ago, 2 months ago, and I guess it's in post-production.
Yeah.
So, let's see what happens.
I just worked with Marta. And just writing other projects.
It's good to see that you guys are still, just pursuing it and still working on it and really finding open career paths into filmmaking. And now we'll turn it over to the audience. If anybody has any questions, anybody want to ask something to our filmmakers here?
I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. Brittany, and everybody has a dynamic in film. I like everybody's movies very much. Very professional looking because I'm a film buff. I'm retired to watch television, so, so I'm watching. And ever since I watched my daughter do Sisters in Spirit 2 long ago.
Better stop!
I'm Googling this right
Take this man's mic away!
But again, everybody was beautiful. But I do have, and it was a very, very lovely scene. Kind of sort of was bittersweet for me when the people got blew up in the boat out there. That was bittersweet, I'll tell you that. My wife said she's going to stab me if I said anything. So if I come up stabbed, we know who's stabbing me. So you guys did a wonderful job. My applause.
Well, congratulations, all of you. Bobby, it was very gratifying to see how far the film came along. It was great, and all the themes were so strong and so beautifully executed. I have one question I want to ask you, Wayne. I was perplexed by the smile, the girl smiling at the end of your film.
Originally in that shot, I had her breaking the fourth wall because I think I hadn't told Vishal, and Vishal brought up, Wayne, she looked right at the camera, and I said, I know, I told her to. Oh, okay. And, but it was the ambiguous nature, the idea was, is she smiling because she's truly happy, or is she smiling to get out of Dutch with Damian? And I think we left that note ambiguous on purpose for the audience to fill in their own interpretation.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, as an audience member, each story was really was involving. It was about something. And your execution, if I had seen these movies cold and not known anybody involved, I would have thought professionals did this. It was truly professional. What you're doing is really, really wonderful.
Thank you.
I can do that. Hi guys, really great work. They were all really incredible. I'm really curious. Thank you.
What's the pitching and selection process like in the class for like positions? Are you automatically attached as director to your script because you wrote it? How does that go?
It was a given, I think, when early on in the program that the director was initially attached with the script. I think now it's more of a work in progress. You'll have to ask your professors, I guess. Anybody else have a better answer?
Definitely. As far as getting to that point, there are two classes you take before you get to film 33, which is the one where you make a short film. And then once you get into 33, first you're actually kind of preempted before you even go into that class. everybody gets a chance to write a script. You submit to Professor Carrasco, and then he will narrow it down. And so he narrows it down to 5, 3. What he thinks that the school, the class, and anybody involved can benefit from that particular script. So he narrows it down to let's say 3, and then he meets with all those potential script. And then you might rewrite. You might, after that, based on the discussion. And then whoever was those 3, you resubmit, and then he kind of picks one, and then the whole class gets behind it, or they don't. But in my case, the class was incredible, and everybody got right into it. So there is kind of a whittling down process.
Also, in film 32, at the time we did 5, I think, and now 10, and now we did 5, and Professor always advised to try out different positions so you can know what you want to do. So in 32, it's like we do 5 scenes, and again, just rotate around. You don't always want to direct, try sound, try production design, try everything. So when you get to 33, you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, my name is Joseph, and I'm the founder and director of Operation Street Kids. And our department is known as Project ACE, ACE, All Colors Entertainment. And it's something that myself and the professor have looked at for the last 20 years. And for him to open his heart and we got young kids from East LA, from Garfield High School that graduated already. And so basically, the issue is that, move right here? Okay, cool. Thank you, Drew. Drew's been a blessing, man. And in fact, Drew's setting it up for us, so we're taking kids that are in juvenile hall to a tour here so that they can learn media, learn everything that's under the sun. And so not only these individuals that are here, they also take our kids down and they get to shadow. And they get to come here to see what it's all about. And Professor, man, opens up his heart, man, and just allows everybody to be part of it, So and then we're getting the high school students to nurture the younger ones. And we're funneling them over here, such as Oscar. So, for those of you, just verbalize that, moms and dads and, the people in the community that maybe the kid wants to be an actor, an actress, or whatever involved, shout, give them a helping hand. Give them a helping hand. Tell the mother to take a look at these videos, take a look at everything that's here at this school. It's been exciting. It's going to become more exciting later on. Peace.
Well, with that, let's go enjoy a really good dinner, and thank you to the filmmakers.
Thank you to the audience.